I stood outside my parents' house, feeling the heat from the black asphalt through my leather flats. My mother's impatience bloomed in the clay planters that flanked the front door of the ranch-style house I'd called home for most of my 34 years. Even the heat wouldn't dare defy my mother by making her flowers wilt. Gloria Whalen ruled her garden as she'd ruled her 5 children, and disobeying her was as much of a rarity as a January snow in Georgia. A bead of sweat trickled between my shoulder blades as the heat beat down on me and my new husband, as if it were the middle of July instead of just spring. I tried to explain to Matthew that summers were like that in West Georgia, so sudden that spring was like a cool evening sandwiched between winter and high summer. Matthew was from the coast, so I figured he already knew a thing or two about heat and humidity. Matthew held my hand as I faced my father and 4 brothers. My siblings, ranging in age from 55 down to 45, assembled as either a farewell party or as a show of force to the stranger I'd chosen to marry. Even now, standing in a suburban setting, they could still be identified as the funeral directors they were. Whalen and Sons had been in my father's family for 3 generations, and the serious, solicitous expressions on all 5 faces were more genetic now than learned. Their assorted wives and my various nieces and nephews remained inside by unspoken assent, perhaps gathered in sympathy around my mother's bedroom door, a door she'd refused to open since I'd arrived that morning. I'd called the day before, the day of my wedding, to give her time to adjust. Even Phil Autry, my fiancé of 4 years, seemed to have taken the news better than she had. I let go of Matthew's hand and hugged my father. He held on tightly for a moment, then released me to hold me at arm's distance. I was used to this. Despite my being the youngest and the only girl, and being reassured that I'd been what my parents had hoped and prayed for, they'd always seemed too wary of their good fortune to hold me tightly. It was as if by their holding me close, the vagaries of fortune that had given me to them would notice and take me away. "Can I try to talk with Mama?" I really didn't want to. I hated to leave with things unspoken between us, but I didn't want her to think that I was desperate for her approval. I'd outgrown that need along with Clearasil and braces. My father shook his head. "Give her time, Ava. She'll come around. It's just been a shock. To all of us." He paused and settled a stern look on me. "You know how Gloria doesn't like surprises. She'll come around." I hoped my expression conveyed my doubt about the sincerity of his words. My mother had been vaguely upset when I told her I was married. Although she didn't admit it, I knew she'd always planned a large wedding in her garden with all the frills for her only daughter. It wasn't until I told her I was moving to St. Simon's that she'd had her meltdown. She had 4 daughters-in-law who lived within spitting distance, all more than eager and willing to cater to my mother and treat her like the matriarch she was accustomed to being. I'd grown up looking out my bedroom window, able to see 3 of my brother's houses, all the same except for different colored doors, with neat grass and identical black sedans in the driveways. It always made me wonder which house on this street would be mine one day. The thought gave me nightmares, even more nightmares than I'd had after my oldest brother Stephen had taken me to the embalming room. It wasn't the cold reality of death that had scared me, only the thought of not living the life I had. I went down the row of my brothers, standing in birth order from youngest to oldest, as was their habit, David, Joshua, Mark, and Stephen, and hugged each. Matthew followed, shaking each hand before turning to my father. "I'll take good care of her, sir." "You'd better. She's very precious to us."